In life, there are moments, sometimes small, sometimes big, that change you. You don't realize it at the time, but looking back, you can see how a single event or decision shifted the course of everything. For some, these moments mark the end of innocence. For me, that moment came when I was 16. I didn't know it at the time, but it was the beginning of a long journey toward understanding who I was, who I could become, and how fragile innocence truly is. My name is Lily, and this is the story of how I lost my innocence. It's not just about one bad decision or one mistake. It's about the way life teaches you lessons, often in the hardest, most painful ways. And it's about realizing that innocence, no matter how precious, can't protect you from the world. Sometimes you have to lose it to grow up, to understand life in all its complexity. Growing up, I was the kind of girl who believed in fairy tales. I believed that good things happened to good people, and that life had a certain order to it. I had a strong sense of right and wrong, and I was sheltered from the harsh realities that others had to face. My parents did everything they could to shield me from pain. I had everything I needed: a loving family, friends who cared about me, and a future that seemed so bright and full of promise. But I was naive. I didn't know how the world worked. Not really. I didn't understand that sometimes life doesn't go the way you plan it. I didn't understand that people can hurt you, that they can take something from you, even without meaning to. And I certainly didn't understand that losing your innocence doesn't always happen in one big, dramatic event. Sometimes it happens slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you realize it's gone. It all started with Jason. Jason was the kind of guy who seemed too good to be true. He was charming, funny, and always had a way of making you feel like the most important person in the room. I met him at the beginning of my junior year. He was a senior, a few years older than me, but that didn't stop us from becoming close. At first, we were just friends. He'd walk me home from school, help me with my homework, and we'd spend hours talking about life, dreams, and the future. He was different from the other boys at school. He listened to me. He made me feel special, but things changed. Slowly, at first. We started spending more time together, texting late into the night, talking about everything and nothing. Then, one night, something shifted. We were at a party, a small get-together at one of his friends' houses. I hadn't planned on going, but Jason had convinced me. He told me it would be fun, that I'd have a good time, that we could just hang out and relax. I should have known that something wasn't quite right, but I didn't. I trusted him. At the party, I felt a little out of place. Everyone else seemed so much more experienced than me. They were drinking, laughing, acting like they had it all figured out. And here I was, the shy girl who wasn't used to this kind of environment. But Jason was there, by my side, making me feel like I wasn't alone. He kept offering me drinks, and while I didn't usually drink, I didn't want to seem lame or boring. I wanted to fit in. I wanted him to keep looking at me the way he always did, like I was someone worth paying attention to. Eventually, I had more to drink than I should have. I wasn't drunk, but I wasn't completely sober either. Jason seemed to notice. He took me by the hand, leading me to a quieter part of the house. At the time, I thought it was just a moment to talk, to get away from the noise. But that wasn't what he had in mind. We sat down on the couch, and I remember feeling a little dizzy, a little unsure. I should have stopped right then, should have said something, but I didn't. I let him get closer, let him kiss me, and for a moment, it felt okay. It felt like I was finally doing something exciting, something grown up. But that moment didn't last long. Things escalated quickly. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know what to do. I was overwhelmed, caught off guard, and suddenly everything was moving too fast. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared, but I didn't know how to make him stop. I didn't know how to make it clear that I wasn't ready for what was happening. I remember feeling trapped, like I couldn't breathe. But I didn't speak up. I didn't stop him. I was scared of what would happen if I did. Scared of what he might think of me. Scared that he wouldn't like me anymore. Scared that I might lose him. And then, just like that, it was over. He backed away, a look of confusion on his face, like he wasn't sure what had just happened either. I don't remember what he said, but I remember the shame, the regret, the sudden understanding that something had changed. I had crossed a line I wasn't ready to cross. I left the party early that night, feeling like I was carrying something heavy inside me. Something I didn't know how to talk about. When I got home, I went straight to my room, closed the door, and collapsed on my bed, crying. I cried for what had happened, for how I felt, for the way I had allowed myself to be pushed into something I wasn't ready for. I cried because I didn't know how to go back to being the person I was before, the person who believed in fairy tales, who believed that things happened for a reason and that people were good. The days after that night were a blur. I tried to talk to Jason, but he acted like nothing had happened, like everything was fine. He still smiled at me in the halls, still acted like the same guy I had once trusted, but I couldn't look at him the same way anymore. I couldn't unsee what had happened, what I had allowed to happen. I felt dirty, ashamed, like I had done something wrong, even though deep down I knew I hadn't. But in my heart, I felt like I had lost something that I couldn't get back. In the weeks that followed, I withdrew. I became quiet, distant. I stopped hanging out with my friends. I stopped trusting people the way I had before. I lost my ability to believe that people could be trusted, that promises could be kept, that innocence could last forever. I started questioning everything. What I had done, what I could have done differently, and what it meant to be a girl in a world that often took more than it gave. But as time went on, I realized something. I couldn't stay in that place forever. I couldn't let this one moment define me, no matter how much it had hurt. I had to find a way to move forward, to learn from what had happened and grow from it. Losing my innocence wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of understanding who I really was, someone who could face the harshness of the world and still stand tall. I'll never be the same person I was before that night. But I've learned that losing innocence doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you damaged or broken. It just makes you human. And being human means you're capable of both great joy and great pain. And sometimes, the two are intertwined. It's the way we handle both that shapes us into who we are meant to become. Now, when I look back on that time, I see it differently. I see it as a lesson, a painful but necessary part of my growth. It wasn't a choice I would ever want to relive, but it was a part of me, a part of my story, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.